Alright, hey guys, and welcome back, as this week I take a look at some forgotten superheroes from a source you might not expect, and that's the Mighty Crusaders by Remco. The Mighty Crusaders were a fictional superhero team created and published by Archie Comics in November of 1965 in Mighty Crusaders #1. The series was written by Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel, and was thought to have been produced as a response to other successful comic book series like The Avengers, The Fantastic Four, and Justice League of America. The series only lasted 1 year until being cancelled in 1966 due to low appeal and sales. The comic would be rebooted twice, first in 1983 under the same name, and again in 1992, but as just The Crusaders, which ran for 8 issues. As far as the toys go for the series, the line only saw moderate success. In 1966, a board game, the Mighty Comics Superheroes game, was released, but flopped almost immediately as it was too little, too late. It wouldn't be until almost 20 years later, until 1984, 1 year after Archie Comics rebooted the series, that there would be a proper toy line released for the characters. Remco picked up the licensing for the abandoned property and produced a series of 8 action figures titled The Mighty Crusaders. Each came with a bio on the back of the card, various accessories, and a secret sonic signaling shield that doubled as a whistle. The card art was produced by renowned comic book artist Steve Ditko, giving the packaging that Silver Age look. There were 8 figures produced in all, along with a few vehicles like the Mighty Crusaders stunt cycle, as well as walkie-talkies, water pistols, and other various toys similar to what you would find at your corner grocery store, but no playsets were ever made. There were 4 superheroes and 4 supervillains, which were, for the superheroes, the Comet, the Fox, the Shield, and the Web, and for the supervillains, there was the Brain Emperor, the Buzzard, the Eraser, and the Sting. It seems likely that the only reason the property was revised was due to the success of other similar toy lines at the same time, like Kenner's DC Superpowers and Marvel's Secret Wars. Seeing as how Remco mainly produced cheaper quality, look-alike toys that imitated other brands at half the cost, it's no surprise they picked up the license for this once-forgotten series. As expected, the line did poorly, but that's not really a fault of the toys themselves, but more to Remco having a throwaway policy of producing multiple toy lines when they saw a hot new trend, and even if that trend continued to be successful, abandoning the line and not producing new figures or playsets. So are the Mighty Crusaders toys that are worth collecting, or even worth mentioning? Unfortunately, not really. However, they are an interesting example of the evolution of independent comic book characters that show just because a series has successful artists and writers backing it, that sadly a copy is still just a copy all the same. Although they do have an interesting look and style to them, and the fact that Steve Ditko did the card art for them makes them somewhat worth mentioning, and these figures would be right at home in any comic book enthusiast collection.
Alright, and now let's take a look at some of the Remco Mighty Crusaders action figures that I have in my collection. I have a total of 4. I have 3 superheroes and 1 supervillain. So let's start off by taking a look at the leader of the superheroes, and that is the Shield. Now he probably has one of the more interesting color schemes and patterns out of all of the figures here. As you can see, he has a patriotic flag, kind of 4th of July theme going on here. He's got the red-orange hair, the half blue mask that shows the face. He has the stars and stripes outfit on. Also on the gauntlets, he has a stars and stripes on both of the wrists, and as well around on the back, and then also on his boots here, he has the stars and stripes down on the bottom. So a really nice looking color scheme, I have to say here. And then we'll take a look at his accessory here that he comes with. Now all the figures would have come with their own different accessory. He has his shield, and this is their sonic signaling shield. And I do think it's kind of a rather cheap gimmick because it's just a whistle. I mean, it's nice as a shield, but as a whistle, it's like, yeah, that's kind of lame. It's kind of phoned in. We'll see if we can hear what this sounds like. There we go. So you can kind of hear what that would have sounded like when you went to use that. So yeah, pretty neat little figure. And then as far as articulation goes, you can move the head all the way around 360 degrees. The one arm on the side moves up and down. The left arm here does the power punch on all the figures. So you can move it up a little bit more, but not too much more movement than that. They pivot at the waist. And then the legs move in and out and forward and back slightly, but not too much movement there. Kind of a plain, ordinary figure, but still fun, still neat, I think. They're definitely different, and they're really reminiscent of like those weird Silver Age comics that you would see in like independent comics. I think that's what makes these neat to a lot of collectors. Like if you're into stuff like that, especially if you're a comic collector, I think these guys fit in great. And next here we have the this is the Comet. I gotta say, he's probably the weirdest out of the bunch. He looks like they're trying to mimic Cyclops, because he has this visor on the front of his head. Now you can move that up, and then you can see his eyes underneath. You can move it back down. And his scheme is that he has a red and blue outfit, with red for the legs, and then a blue and red shirt with an arrow on the top with stars and moons, since he's, the comet kind of going through space. That's what it's supposed to indicate, like he'd be flying through the stars against the backdrop of the blue, the night sky and everything like that, and that theme continues around to the back side. Nothing on the boots at all, but a nice little figure there, definitely very bizarre looking. And of course the power punch as well. And his is in pretty good shape because his springs are rather tight, so very bizarre, but a neat looking figure all the same. And then here we have, this is my favorite out of the group, and he was also the first figure that I picked up out of this series, and that would be the Web. Now on first look, he actually looks like he would be one of the bad guys. I thought he was for the longest time. And he's very, very wacky, very crazy looking. He has this cool color scheme that at least I like anyway. He has this blue and yellow color scheme, which is like opposite, paralleled on either side. A little bit of nice detailing. It's worn away over the years here on the belt. You can see there's a spider web that would have gone around the whole belt, and then in the front there is the buckle. He also has this mask that covers the top part of his head, this cowl that goes around behind his neck, which really gives some nice added dimension and depth. And best of all, he has this really cool web cape. Now it's a little chipped and worse for wear over the years, but it still looks really neat and really gives him just this weird dimension that when you first see this toy, you're like, what is going on with this? It definitely draws your eye because it's just so different. Like honestly, if I had never known better, these look like they could almost fit in with like toys of the 60s era, and which makes sense because that's when the comics originally came out, and that's what makes them so confusing when you see these in a toy store and you're like, what is going on with these figures? Because they kind of look like Marvel superheroes, they kind of look like DC Kenner superpowers or whatever, so that's what makes them really unique, and just you don't know what to make of them as a collector, I think, and it makes them really interesting. And then finally here we have the last figure, and this is the Buzzard, my only bad guy here. I wish I had more of the villains in my collection. Now, as you can see, he looks like a direct ripoff of Marvel and Spider-Man's one of his arch nemesis, the Vulture. And aside from the color swap not being green, he's basically the same thing. Bald head, big furry eyebrows. His color scheme's really unique. I like it a lot. It's like this pale orange with like purple and then white around the gauntlets and everything, and is the purple stripe going around the center. And he would have had a vulture head that you could have clipped on over his head to make him look more like a bird. And even better than that, he even has the talons on the feet, so not just like regular feet like the rest of them. He actually has, it's a really unique sculpt that they did there, and really gives him that total vulture like look to him and everything. And of course the power punch as well. And yeah, very cool. But definitely, wow, talk about plagiarism, copyright infringement, whatever you want to say. I mean, I'm surprised that Archie Comics didn't get sued making characters that are so close to Marvel and like DC franchises. So now let's try out the Power Punch here. We'll see how effective that is. I have a feeling it's not going to be very effective at all. And we'll put the web up against the vulture here. The web says, "Stop, evildoer, or I'll be forced to catch you in my web of truth." And the vulture says, "Never." He says, "Oh boy, if that's all you got." He's like, I'm getting away with everything. Bam! Take that. Justice prevails yet again, as no evil is too strong to escape my web of justice. Or some cornball superhero phrase like that. And we'll put him back there, and that's going to do it. So guys, thanks for checking out the Mighty Crusaders with me today by Remco. They're definitely a weird and unique toy line. I think that they're interesting, but in a way they're almost not so interesting. They're interesting to collect, and they have a unique history behind them, and it's really neat to see how comics influenced some knockoff toys. But they truly are one of those forgotten toy lines that most people don't collect and don't even try to remember. They really are just faded into obscurity, and I think that's really what makes them more interesting than anything. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed taking this look at Remco's Mighty Crusaders with me today, and I'll see you back here next time.
Hey guys, if you liked the video that you just watched, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, and you can follow me at Facebook at King of Retro or Twitter at #8ByteBrian. See you next time!